It's 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of America, and the temperature outside still reads in the 80s. The sun went down hours ago. The streets are dark and quiet. And yet the air refuses to cool. This is the part of the heat crisis that doesn't make the dramatic footage, the part most people never think about, and it's the exact part that has scientists and doctors genuinely alarmed. Because a record-shattering heat dome is tightening its grip on the United States right now, forecast to bake as much as 2/3 of the country over the coming weeks. And the most dangerous thing about it isn't the blistering afternoon highs you'll see on the news. It's what's happening after dark, when the heat that's supposed to break simply doesn't. That's the silent killer inside this event. And today, we're going to break down exactly what this record heat is going to do to the country in the days and weeks ahead, why the nights are the real threat, who's most at risk, and how to protect yourself and the people you love. No fear-mongering, no exaggeration, just the science, the forecast, and the honest stakes, because heat is the deadliest weather threat there is, and it's the one people take the least seriously. This is a fast-moving, developing situation, so everything I'm sharing is based on the latest forecasts as of this recording. And the picture the meteorologists are painting is a serious one. But before we dive in, do me one quick favor, because it genuinely helps this channel. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from, and what the temperature is where you are, day and night. If you're in the West, the Plains, the Midwest, anywhere under this dome, let us know how hot it's gotten and whether the nights are cooling off at all. And if you want to stay ahead of dangerous weather instead of getting blindsided by it, hit that subscribe button. It's free, it takes 1 second, and it could genuinely help keep you and your family safer. A thumbs up helps push this out to more people who need the warning. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the sheer scale of what we're dealing with, because it's staggering. Meteorologists are describing this as one of the strongest heat domes of the entire summer, and it is enormous. A heat dome is a massive area of high pressure that parks in the upper atmosphere and acts like a lid on a pot. It traps hot air near the surface, and at the same time it blocks the clouds, the winds, and the rain that would normally bring relief. As the air underneath sinks and compresses, it heats up even more. And this particular dome is so vast that forecasters say it could trap sweltering temperatures across as much as 2/3 of the continental United States. Climate scientists have called the event remarkable, warning that it's shaping up to be a long duration, widespread, high-intensity heat event that will affect millions of people for well over a week. And here's the part that makes the coming weeks framing so important. This dome is not going to sit in one place and then vanish. Forecasters expect it to shift and wobble, sliding around the country over the next 10 days or more, potentially spreading its dangerous heat from coast to coast. It might start centered over one region, like the northern plains and the west, and then bulge and drift eastward, dragging record temperatures into the Midwest and toward the East Coast. So this isn't a one-day scorcher that you just wait out. It's a slow-moving, shifting siege of heat that could put a huge share of the country under threat, one region after another, for weeks. The temperature numbers themselves are extraordinary. Forecasters have been calling for record triple-digit highs across a whole belt of states, places like Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and the Dakotas. And in the single most extreme spot on the map, the situation is almost hard to believe. In Death Valley, California, already the hottest place on Earth, forecasts have pointed toward highs approaching 129 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that in perspective, the highest temperature ever reliably recorded anywhere on the planet is 130 degrees, measured in that same valley a few years ago. So this heat event has the United States flirting with the hottest reliable temperature ever recorded in the history of the world. That's the level of extreme we're talking about. The National Weather Service has warned of dangerous and potentially record-breaking temperatures across the region. When forecasters start using the word record this often, it's a sign the atmosphere is doing something genuinely rare and dangerous. There's a fascinating and important wrinkle to that Death Valley record worth mentioning. For over a century, the official hottest temperature on Earth was a reading of 134 degrees, supposedly measured in Death Valley back in 1913. But scientists have increasingly concluded that measurement was almost certainly flawed. A 2026 study found it was physically implausible, likely more than a dozen degrees too high. So the real, reliable record stands at that 130-degree mark from a few years ago. And that's what makes this weekend's forecast so striking. This isn't a chase after some dubious century-old number. It's a legitimate approach toward the genuine, modern, scientifically trusted record for the hottest temperature ever measured on the surface of our planet. And here's a detail that shows just how extreme the atmospheric setup is. Forecasters noted that a hurricane passing to the south could actually make things worse, because its outflow could pump extra energy into the heat dome's ridge, allowing temperatures to climb even higher. When a distant hurricane is potentially adding fuel to a record heat event, you know the ingredients are lined up in an extraordinary way. But now, let's get to the heart of this, the thing that truly has the experts alarmed. And it's probably not what you'd expect. It's not the daytime highs, it's the nights. Here's why this matters so much, and it's one of the most important things you can understand about extreme heat. Under normal conditions, even after a brutally hot day, the temperature drops significantly at night. That nighttime cool down is not just pleasant, it's essential. It's the window your body uses to recover, to shed the heat it absorbed during the day, to give your heart and your organs a break from the strain of trying to keep you cool. It's also when your home, if it lacks air conditioning, finally gets a chance to release some of the heat it soaked up. That overnight relief is the safety valve that keeps a hot day from becoming a deadly one. And this heat event is taking that safety valve away. The National Weather Service has been predicting that a large share of the temperature records broken during these events are overnight records for how warm it stays at night. In many places, the temperature isn't dropping below 80 degrees after dark. Think about what that means. Your body never gets its break. The heat stress just keeps accumulating hour after hour through the night, into the next day, and the next. Health experts have been blunt about this, warning that overnight temperatures that fail to cool down are actually more dangerous than the soaring daytime highs everyone focuses on. To us, one expert made a chilling point. In a prolonged heat event like this, the deaths often start on the second or third day, because that's when the cumulative strain of never cooling down finally overwhelms the body. It's not the first scorching afternoon that gets people, it's the relentlessness, the days and nights of heat with no relief in between. And that is exactly why a long-duration event like this one is so uniquely dangerous. Let me put an even finer point on why this is the alarming part. To understand why prolonged heat is so lethal, it helps to know what it actually does to the human body. Your body works hard to keep its core temperature around 98.6 degrees, and its main tool for shedding excess heat is sweating. And as sweat evaporates, it cools you. But that system has limits. When the air is extremely hot, and especially when it's also humid so sweat can't evaporate efficiently, your body starts losing the battle. Your heart has to pump harder and faster to push blood to the skin to release heat, putting enormous strain on your cardiovascular system, which is exactly why heat is so dangerous for people with heart conditions. As you sweat, you lose fluids and salts, leading to dehydration that thickens the blood and strains the body further. And if your core temperature climbs too high and stays there, your organs begin to fail. That's heat stroke, and it can be fatal. Now layer in the overnight problem. Normally your body uses the cooler night to bring that core temperature back down and let your heart recover. Strip that away for night after night, and the damage compounds until the body simply can't keep up. That's the physiology behind the grim warning that deaths start on the second or third day. Heat is already quietly the #1 weather-related killer in the United States. It kills more people in a typical year than hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods. And it does most of its damage silently, indoors, to vulnerable people, without the dramatic imagery that makes other disasters go viral. There's no video of a heat wave, so it's already underestimated. Now take that underestimated killer and remove the nighttime relief that normally limits its death toll and stretch it out over 10 days or more across 2/3 of the country. That combination, extreme, prolonged, and with no overnight cool down, is precisely the recipe that turns a heat wave from uncomfortable into lethal. And it's already happening. These blistering temperatures over the past several weeks have already been linked to heat-related deaths, including in New Jersey, and the heat has helped fuel wildfires out west. This is not a hypothetical threat, it's an active one. So who is most at risk here? Because understanding that is how you protect the people who need it most. The most vulnerable are the elderly, especially those living alone, whose bodies are less able to regulate temperature and who may not even realize how dangerously hot they're getting. Young children are at high risk too, along with anyone with heart conditions, respiratory illness, or other chronic health problems. People who work outside, construction crews, farm workers, delivery drivers, roofers, face enormous danger during events like this. And critically, anyone without reliable air conditioning is exposed because when the nights don't cool down, an unair-conditioned home becomes a heat trap that just keeps getting hotter. This is also where a cruel inequality shows up. The people least able to afford air conditioning or high electricity bills are often the ones most exposed to the worst of the heat. And in dense urban areas, there's an added factor called the urban heat island effect. All that concrete and asphalt absorbs heat during the day and radiates it back at night, keeping cities even warmer after dark than the surrounding countryside. So the very places packed with the most people can also be the ones where the nighttime heat is most relentless. There's one more risk that ties directly into the coming weeks, and it's the power grid. When a heat dome parks over 2/3 of the country and tens of millions of people run their air conditioning full blast around the clock, including through those warm nights, electricity demand skyrockets. That surge can push the grid to its limits, raising the threat of rolling blackouts or outages. And here's why that's so dangerous during a heat event specifically. A power failure in the middle of extreme heat isn't just an inconvenience, it can be deadly because it knocks out the air conditioning that vulnerable people are literally depending on to survive. A prolonged, widespread heat wave is exactly the scenario that stresses the electrical system the most, at exactly the moment when losing power is most dangerous. It's worth having a plan for what you'd do if the power went out during this stretch, where you'd go to stay cool, how you'd reach people, how you'd keep essential medications cold. Hope for the best, but think it through now. Now, one important warning about the heat itself. It can sneak up on you. One of the most dangerous things about heat illness is that it's genuinely hard to recognize in yourself. As one expert put it, it's hard to know when you're getting into trouble with the heat because the early warning signs can be subtle and easy to brush off. So let me walk you through them clearly, because knowing this could save a life, maybe your own. The early signs of heat exhaustion include heavy sweating, muscle cramps, weakness, dizziness, nausea, and a headache. If you or someone around you starts feeling those things, that is your body waving a red flag. The response is immediate. Get to a cool place, get out of the sun, drink water, loosen clothing, and rest. Do not push through it. But here's the critical escalation you must know. If the situation gets worse, if the person stops sweating and their skin becomes hot and dry, if they become confused or disoriented, if they have a rapid pulse, or if they collapse or lose consciousness, that is no longer heat exhaustion. That is heat stroke, and it is a life-threatening medical emergency. In that situation, you call for emergency help immediately, and while you wait, you do everything you can to cool the person down. Move them to shade or indoors, apply cool water or cold packs to the skin, fan them. Heat stroke can cause organ damage and death within a short time if it's not treated fast. Knowing the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke and acting quickly is one of the most important pieces of safety knowledge you can carry into a summer like this one. So let's talk about what you actually do to protect yourself and your family over the coming weeks. Because information without action is just anxiety. And heat is one of the most preventable killers there is when you take the right steps. First, hydrate, and start before you're thirsty. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already behind. Drink water steadily throughout the day, and go easy on alcohol and caffeine, which work against you. If you're active or working outside, this is absolutely non-negotiable. And take frequent breaks in the shade or in air conditioning. Second, find cooling, especially during the hottest part of the day, which typically runs from late morning into the evening. If you have air conditioning, use it. This is not the time to worry about the electricity bill more than your safety. If you don't have air conditioning at home, this is critical. Go somewhere that does. Many communities open public cooling centers during extreme heat. Libraries, malls, community centers, recreation centers. Even a few hours in a cool environment during the peak heat can dramatically reduce your risk. There is no shame in using a cooling center. It exists to keep you alive. Third, and given everything we've discussed about the nights, this one is especially important. Have a plan for the overnight hours. If your home isn't cooling down, the strategies that help include closing blinds and curtains during the day to block the sun, using fans to move air. Though remember, once it's extremely hot, a fan alone isn't enough to prevent heat illness. You need actual cooling, taking cool showers, and if your home simply won't cool, considering spending the night somewhere that will, whether that's with family, friends, or a cooling facility. Don't assume you'll be fine just because the sun is down. As we've covered, the nights are the danger. Fourth, and I cannot stress this enough, check on the vulnerable people in your life. The elderly neighbor who lives alone, the relative with a heart condition, anyone you know without air conditioning. During a prolonged heat event, a simple phone call or a knock on the door genuinely saves lives, because the people most at risk are often the least likely to ask for help, or even to realize they're in danger. Take a few minutes each day to check in on someone. It matters more than you know. And fifth, never ever leave children, elderly people, or pets in a parked car, not even for a minute, not even with the windows cracked. In this kind of heat, the inside of a vehicle can reach lethal temperatures within minutes. This tragedy happens every single summer, and it is 100% preventable. Make it a hard rule. And one more practical note for the weeks ahead. Rethink your outdoor plans around the heat. If you exercise, garden, or do yard work, shift it to the early morning or after sunset when it's coolest, and skip it entirely on the most extreme days. If you have travel, events, or outdoor activities scheduled, keep an eye on the forecast for your area as this dome shifts and wobbles across the country, and be willing to adjust. Dress in light, loose, light-colored clothing, wear a hat, and take shade breaks often. And don't forget animals. Pets need shade, plenty of water, and paws protected from scorching pavement. And livestock and outdoor animals need extra care during a stretch like this too. Small adjustments, made in advance, are how you get through weeks of dangerous heat without a scare. Let me zoom out for a moment, because there's a bigger reason this specific event has scientists so concerned, beyond just the immediate danger. Prolonged, record-breaking heat events like this one have been arriving more frequently and more intensely in recent years, and this summer alone, the country has already been hit by multiple major heat domes. One earlier in the season affected more than 200 million people at its peak. When you see this pattern of back-to-back, record-shattering heat waves, each one straining the same people, the same power grids, the same emergency systems, that's part of what alarms the experts. It's not just this one event in isolation. It's the sense that events like this are becoming a defining feature of American summers, and that the infrastructure and habits built for a cooler past aren't fully ready for the heat of the present. We'll dig deeper into that bigger picture another time, but it's the backdrop that makes this particular event feel less like a freak occurrence and more like a warning. Here's the honest bottom line. A record-breaking heat dome is gripping the United States and is forecast to shift and expand across as much as 2/3 of the country over the coming weeks, with temperatures in the most extreme spots flirting with the hottest ever reliably recorded on Earth. But the thing that truly has scientists and doctors alarmed isn't just those daytime numbers. It's the record warm nights that refuse to cool, robbing people's bodies of the recovery time they need, and turning a long-duration heat event into a genuine, cumulative, life-threatening hazard. This heat is already linked to deaths and wildfires, and the danger will build as the event drags on. The good news is that heat is survivable when you respect it and prepare. Hydrate, stay cool, plan for the nights, check on the people who need it, and take the warnings seriously. Don't let the fact that it's just heat fool you into letting your guard down, because this is the deadliest kind of weather there is, arriving in one of its most dangerous forms. I'm going to be tracking this heat event every step of the way as it shifts and expands across the country. Every record that falls, every region that comes into the danger zone, every update from the forecasters. If you want to stay ahead of it and keep your family safe, subscribe right now so you don't miss an update. Because with an event this large and this prolonged, staying informed genuinely matters. Hit that like button to help this reach more people sweating through this. It could help someone take it seriously in time. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from? And are your nights cooling off at all? Or is the heat hanging on after dark? Tell me. I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next update. Stay cool, stay hydrated, check on each other, and stay safe out there.